So today we're going to see a little bit on introduction to aerial mapping, and this particular drone model that we actually have here is known as the DJI Mavic 3T. So 3T stands for thermal. So either you have the DJI Mavic 3 Enterprise or 3T. So this 3T, it has a thermal camera. So it has thermal camera built in. So why are we actually interested in aerial mapping? So especially when you look at in electronics engineering, we can actually use it for accurate site data for efficient project planning and design. So if you notice that sometimes if you later point of time, if you decide to actually have a drone pilot license, so you need to sit for certification and you'll get a license which will be valid for 5 years. Okay, then after 5 years you have to actually renew it. So like your driving license also, so you'll get a license for it. And if you have the license, then you can actually do freelancing. Okay, so you can, and if you have a drone, you can actually provide freelancing. Now, not necessarily you need to have a thermal drone. You can have a normal cinematic drone is also fine. So able to do the site mapping. So why site mapping is actually important? Now, if you look at Google Maps, for example, so let's say let's type Uniten map, for example. Let's go to the map. So we're going to use the satellite layers. So this is the Uniten, let's close this map layout. So do you recognize this building? This is the National Energy Center. So this has been built for some time. But for those who constantly, I'm not so sure, I don't think so you all will always check on the map. This map image is not real time. So in some cases, whenever they want to do some development, like for example, let's say this area, this is not an updated image, satellite image, or this one, for example, this is not an updated. So sometimes whenever you want to actually work on agriculture or you want to work on a particular site, they want to know what is the actual scenario here, and for that they'll actually will want to do the site mapping to see what is actually there. So one of the best tool for you to use to do aerial mapping is drone. Very easily, within minutes, it'll just capture and give you what is the latest aerial mapping. So agriculture is one usage of it, in construction is one usage of it, and sometimes whenever they want to do the electric tower, whenever they want to actually do some maintenance, they actually can use the drone to check and see how is the condition at the base of the tower. So you don't have to actually go there, you can just utilize drone to do quick inspection. So that actually saves you a lot of time. And also on infrastructure monitoring. So you can use it to track progress. You may also have noticed that sometimes later point of time, maybe after you graduate, then you purchase a house, a new house. Then you might want to do inspection, quality inspection. So sometimes there are a lot of people who are offering such services that how your housing has warranty for the first 2 years. So if there are any defects, the developer will actually pay for it. Usually most of the problem comes after 2 years if you don't check. So it's good for you to actually engage and you check. So one of the check they do is they want to check whether is there any leaking in the rooftop, and for that they actually use drone. You don't have to climb up now. You can actually very quickly deploy a drone and you can actually check on the infrastructure. So that we're talking about houses. For buildings like in the College of Engineering, you can actually utilize drone to actually check on infrastructure. Are there any cracks or anything? Or if there's any issues, you don't have to actually climb up. You just can very easily use drone. And also, of course, on the environmental assessment. So you can actually, likewise, do you see what is the happening here in the environmental part? So of course, this is not the real time. So maybe they cleared it off for some development. But if you are looking at deforestation rate and things like that, you don't have to actually go there. You can just deploy a drone, get the real-time image capture, then you can identify what is the deforestation rate that's actually happening. So all this is from the site mapping. So of course, it's not limited to this tree. There are various applications. For some of you, some of them, they actually do freelancing for cinematic view. You know, get a nice cinematic view, and movie producers or movie directors, they tend to look for, you know, they want to have some cinematic shots. I'm sure that you have seen a lot of reels in Instagram and things like that, how they actually get, the person is down there but he's getting a very nice view, pan and zoom and tilt and all these things. So you can use drone for that. So looking at this particular drone, Mavic 3T, one of the things is it has a very, very high resolution camera which enables very high quality image capture. And specifically because of the T, it actually has thermal imaging. So later, I wouldn't want to fly this here, but let's see how high it can actually go. So you can actually capture the thermal imaging. So later, let's see, we'll capture selfie thermal imaging. Again, you can see our body temperature. And there is this RTK, real-time kinetics positioning. So this drone actually utilizes RTK. It's known as real-time kinetics, which enables the drone to identify its actual position. Where is the drone situated? So this drone can fly off whenever we actually do certain aerial mapping shots. We just have to click play for the mission. Unfortunately, I can't show you now. So when we have the time to do the demo, I'll actually show you. Just with the click of a button, it will actually fly itself. It will capture all the picture by itself. Then it will come back. So the RTK real-time kinetics is actually important, so that the drone knows its actual position and it knows how to actually come back. And of course, this Mavic 3 Enterprise is actually the higher end spec of drone. This is way more costly because of the thermal camera. So whenever we want to actually perform the site mapping mission, few things that we need to take into consideration. Of course, one thing is the weather condition. Now it's raining very badly. You need to actually look for weather conditions. So whenever you want to fly a drone, you always need to check for weather condition, the wind, speed and things like that. That's actually very, very important for you to actually check. So that's the reason why we had actually cancelled our demo session this evening, because of the weather. And then before you fly, this is some of the rules whenever you fly the drone. You need to check on the battery. So on this particular drone, whenever you want to check the battery, is always you can just press once, you can see how many lights. So this is actually full. So likewise, you can click at the back of the drone. So you can see it's full 4. So this battery is important because you always have to check the percentage of battery when you're flying a drone. And you need to always practice safety procedures. Safety procedures means you always must make sure that there's no one below the drone and it's not close to people. Make sure you inform people are surrounding you that you're flying a drone. So there are a lot of procedures that are there. And one of the most important thing is the flight planning. This is what I wanted to show in the demo in my monitor. I want to show how we actually do the flight planning. Unfortunately, you can't do that now. But this flight planning for site mapping, when we actually on the controller itself, there's a screen. There's a screen here. So in the screen itself, I can see the map. Then I can actually highlight what is the area that I want to cover. Some of you were there just now in the evening, right? You saw a little bit of demo. So there are some steps actually capturing the aerial imagery. Of course, launching the drone you don't have to do manually. You just click start the mission, and it will automatically follow the flight path. So it makes it so easy for anyone to do the site mapping, and it will automatically capture all those images. And after you're done, it will actually land. The drone will land back safely. So sometimes when you're landing the drone, it will say, returning to home point. This, when we are showing the demo, you can hear it actually will giving out this instruction. Taking off, home point recorded. Okay, returning to home point. So you'll hear that it will actually be speaking. So when it's returned to drone to the home point, you also always need to keep the drone in your sight, in your vision of line of vision. Always must keep the drone in your line of vision. So now the drone has captured all those images, and there is an SD card here. So later I'll just show you, because I actually tried to combine. If I use normal monitor, I can actually duplicate the image from here, but this projector is not reading. So with the normal monitor, I can actually do that. So then during the demo time, I'll show you. So once it has captured all those images, now we need to stitch those images together, right? Because we are doing aerial site mapping. So it captures all those pictures, and you need to stitch the pictures together. For that, we actually use DJI Terra software. So this is also DJI as well. So we just have to upload the images, and orthomosaic creation means it's actually 2D design. We can also do 3D model reconstruction. So 3D model reconstruction means the drone need to take a much more wider angle and shot. That is one sample, but it's not so nice. And you can actually also do data analysis on this DJI Terra software. You can actually do the calculation, the distance, and things like that. I'll show you. So when you have actually done the mapping, it depends on the application. If you just want to look at the aerial map view for agriculture and things like that, you don't really need to do 3D modeling. So 2D is sufficient. But if you are looking at a particular area, a construction site, you want to understand the volume of that particular building or particular object, then you can actually take the 3D of that particular things. So these are all the things that you can do from 2D map up to 3D maps. You can identify the distance, you can do the area calculation, you can find out what is the height, what is the volume estimation when you do the 3D, and you can all this will actually help to do the site analysis and planning. So there's a lot of practical applications for aerial mapping. So as I mentioned, infrastructure inspection. In electronics communication, they actually use this drone for communication tower inspection. So, but one of the things that you need to consider is your communication tower also emits radio wave signal. So if you buy a very cheap low-end drone, whenever it flies there, it go crazy. But if you get a good drone, it will actually able to fly, but it will say there is a signal interference. It will give you a warning. So sometimes when I fly over BN, there is a telecommunication tower. There's a pole there, telecommunication pole. So whenever the drone goes there, if I go in the range, it will say that there is an interfering signal. So it will actually give a message. So you can actually assess bridges, power lines, pipeline. So TNB is actually using drone inspection mostly, and also the project which actually procured this drone is actually for solar PV inspection. So that's why specifically we actually have this thermal imaging to show the thermal images. Then of course on construction monitoring, you can actually use this to monitor construction, environmental, I think I mentioned this, and emergency response. So this is also one area where drone becomes very, very helpful. Like sometimes in, I'm not so sure how much in Malaysia, but if you see in foreign countries, you know, sometimes people go for hiking and suddenly they get injured or things like that. So the first emergency response to check the environment, is it safe for people to go, they actually will deploy a drone. So go and inspect the area, check and see. So it makes it so easy. Okay, so these are some of the things that are there. Okay, so we are now having the screenshot of the Mavic controller. So there's a warning sign. So okay, avionics, so we need to wait until everything's normal. So now it's normal. So we can enter into the camera mode, so we can actually see all these various pre-flight checks. We can see the we can actually set the flight distance, the signal loss action to return to home if there's a loss of signal. So we have set the maximum flight distance to 381, and if there's obstacle avoidance we can put brake. So this is in the camera mode. So you can see in the camera mode. So you can see on the right hand side is actually the other cameras. So now I'm just taking, I'm going to place it so that the drone can actually take off. So you can see on the right bottom corner currently is actually showing from one of the cameras. Of course now we are looking using the main camera, so there's also a small camera. So if we look at our GPS location, so we can see our current location. If you see on the top under the N mode vision positioning, there is this red color
aircraft entered altitude zone.
So we have to wait until it connects up to 19 GPS satellite signals so that the home point will be recorded. So home point is important so that it knows where to come back. If in case of any emergency, it will automatically come back to the home point. So now you see it's 19.
Home point updated.
So
check map to confirm.
It will automatically update the home point. So now, okay, the drone knows how to come back. So this is the map, site location. So we go to the main page, you're going to click on the flight route, you're going to click the plus sign to create a new route, and we are going to use the area route 2D and 3D data collection. So now what we have to do is we just have to tap on the map to draw a mapping area. So the first tab, the second tab, third tab, and the fourth tab. So you can see the mapping area size meter squared it shows. So we just need to adjust the site area covered that we want to actually do the site mapping. So this is just for example. So I'm just taking, I just want to capture the rooftop of a BN building. So I just make sure that the perimeter covers. So we just click the select sign. Before we fly, we need to actually check and see. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to try to fly the drone to see how high the drone should fly. So
home point updated. Check map to confirm.
See we are going now 14 feet, 15 feet. We're going high up now, our altitude. So it's 80 in the green color, 100, 120, 25 feet now. The altitude is 125 feet. So I'm just going to make sure, check and see if there's any obstacles or not during the mapping. So we just need to make sure that we are having in the right feet direction. So I think there is a wind turbine in the corner here, so I just want to check the wind turbine. So just trying to bring the drone a bit down. Yeah, I can see the wind turbine now. So you can see now it's 105 feet. The altitude is 105 feet. So I think it will be safe if we can set it around like 107 or 108 to make sure that it doesn't
Return to home.
hit with any objects. So I just click the return to home button so that we want the drone to return back home, so that we can actually proceed
RTH interrupted.
we can actually proceed with the site mapping. So let me just get the drone landed properly. I actually interrupted the RTH. RTH stands for return to home. I just interrupted it because I wanted it to land in a specific location that I want it to land. So landing the drone. Okay, so this flight was just to find out at what altitude that we should fly the drone, right? So we have taken, so now let's go back to the flight route. So this I'm just going to rename the flight route as BN building version 2. No space is actually allowed. So I'm just going to use it as version 2. So I'm going to click OK. So here you're going to see we are using the ortho collection, which is the 2D. So now we're going to change the route altitude to 110, and we're going to set the safe takeoff altitude 100 or 110. We can actually also make it the same 110. So the route altitude means it will be flying at 110 feet above. So we can actually set the speed, how fast we are. As we actually adjust the speed, we can see the estimate duration reduces. But as you can see here, the green line depicts the pathway. So this is just for sake of example. So we're going to click save, and there's a play button. So when you click the play button, it will go back to the pre-flight check. Click next, upload the flight mission, and then we're going to click start. So you can see that there's only very few
Moving to start point.
So now it's actually
Home point
executing.
updated. Check map
So
to confirm.
this is actually done automatically. The moment you click on the mission, it will run automatically. So I'm just shifting from the camera, so you can see the camera point of view. So it is automatically adjusting.
Arrived at start point.
Picture.
Starting task.
So it's already started its task. So this is the view. It also shows how many percent the route is actually being done. So this is again the camera view. So you can see it's actually capturing the pictures. So some signals are a bit weak, so the image is actually not coming properly, but the task is actually being executed. So now 93% is going to complete.
Flight mission complete. Return to home.
It's going to return to home automatically.
Landing.
So it's landing now after the task has been completed. So this one is just for the sake of example. We just took very little snapshots. So for better image, we need to take more, and that means it will take a longer time. So next we will see on how to reconstruct. So now after we have actually done our site mapping with the drone, we're going to do some reconstruction work. So for that we're going to use the DJI Terra. So I've already launched the DJI Terra here. So what we have to do is we have to copy the SD card folder. So this is the SD card. So this is today's folder. So you can just copy this entire folder. I'm just going to paste it picture. Okay, so it's already pasted. So we're going to start a new mission. So we're going to click on new mission. So we're going to use visible light. This is following the sunlight, and we can actually rename this. So maybe we can name it as BN building version 2. So click OK. So now it actually, you can see the reconstruction project here, and either you can actually upload the photos or you can add the folder. So we're going to do that. So let's go to pictures and let's see what's the folder. Yeah, this is the folder. So just click on the folder. So inside the folders are already the images are already there. So you can see there are a total of 9 photos that are there. So we are going to look at 2D map. So we're going to do 2D map. So we're going to use the standalone computation. This is, I'm using my own laptop. You need to have minimum 32 GB of RAM, and you need to have NVIDIA graphic card. So we're going to do that, and let's see if we can also try to get the 3D model. So it'll take a while. So just once everything is okay, actually by right we want to do 2D map, but let's see if we are able to get 3D map. So we are going to click on start reconstruction. So that is parameter checklist. So you're going to check on the 2D map and the 3D. So you're just going to click OK. So now it's actually going to show you the percentage of reconstruction. So we'll come to have a look back when the construction is done. So you can see it's actually doing the 2D construction, and you can see what is the waypoints here. So if you zoom in, you can see these are the points that the camera have actually taken picture. So it's going to reconstruct based on this. So 2D is actually 54%. So we'll visit back when it's done. Okay, now so the construction is done. So you can see this is the 2D image, and if we click on this icon here, this will remove the picture captured option. Of course, now if you see the resolution of the image, the reconstruction is not so perfect. That is because if you look here, we only have 51 photos. So if you have more capture, of course this is just a demo, so usually you want to play around. The more pictures that you actually capture, the higher resolution you'll be able to get. So you can see here, if we're looking at this icon, this is annotation and measurement. So you can actually measure the distance from one point to another point. So it give you what's the distance. Okay, so that is on this measurement. And if we, of course, we are not going to get a nice 3D model. So if we click on 3D, more or less you can see it's not very nicely constructed, because for 3D we need to actually capture more picture. But more or less you can see it actually able to take a 3D image. Of course this is not a very nice construction, but that's okay, just to show an idea. And anyway, in the drone, when we actually set the setting, we actually set the setting to take the pictures of that on top 2D only. If we want to actually capture the image for 3D, there is another setting that we need to actually select. So this is more or less just to show you how the 3D reconstruction may look like. Okay, so this is it. So you actually have the sample of reconstruction. So if we look at some of the previous reconstruction that we have done, this is much more better. If we look into this mission, this is actually there are 141 photos. So you can see the more photos, when you are able to take more photos, you can see the image resolution will be very, very good. So you can see this is a very good reconstruction. It has reconstructed this whole green park very, very nicely. So this one there is no 3D because we didn't capture it for 3D. So this is how we can actually do reconstruction using drone site mapping.